The alt season is getting started now, and the total altcoin market cap is about to go to $3.5 trillion US. I will show you overwhelming proof that this will happen and that the naysayers are very wrong. Breaking down myths and misconceptions, give my prediction on the Bitcoin dominance, and diving deep into the data. This will be an incredibly important update video you do not want to miss. And as Bitcoin is breaking into new highs, we are initiating that last and final wave to the upside, like we have been talking about. Now, during this last and final wave to the upside, I definitely do think that altcoin season is finally going to be getting started and altcoins are going to be exploding. Now, a lot of people actually think that altcoins are behaving much differently than previous cycles, but this couldn't be any further from the truth. Altcoins are actually exactly behaving like they were doing in the previous cycles, but just on a little bit of a different time frame. We have always seen the Bitcoin dominance rising for the majority of the time, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, during the end of the cycle, see a crazy altcoin season and altcoins popping off with 20% to 30% gains daily every single day. This has happened already 2 times in the past and right now is about to happen again. As Bitcoin is going to be approaching the end of this bull market, initiating that last and final wave to the upside, like we have been extensively talking about in the daily update videos. Now currently the market sentiment for the altcoins are still at the worst level they've ever been at. But this is about to change very soon in my opinion, as altcoins are about to explode soon during the end of the cycle, just like it has been doing during the previous 2 cycles, because this is going to be the first thing we need to talk about. Every single cycle, we tend to end a cycle with peak euphoria, peak FOMO, and altcoins popping off with the craziest gains you would have ever imagined. This has happened during the last cycle. You could argue that this was already kind of a peak over here, and you can see that the Bitcoin dominance has seen the craziest decline during the exact Bitcoin peak. Also during the 2017 rally, at the exact Bitcoin peak, we could be seeing the Bitcoin dominance decreasing the most and the most amount of money flowing towards altcoins. I think the rotation is literally about to start right now, just like it did during the previous cycles. Yes, the money rotation in crypto is not wrong. It's not dead. It is just about to get started. It didn't start yet, but right now it is about to get started and altcoins are about to pop during the end stage of the cycle. And this is just what has happened during every single cycle. I have a hard time believing that this time is going to be different. I just think that this cycle, once again, we're going to be peaking out and topping out with peak FOMO and peak euphoria in the market with altcoins popping off. Otherwise, this cycle isn't really completed. We have seen this every single cycle. This cycle will be the same. And I can already hear a lot of people saying, no, this cycle will actually be different. This cycle is different because of the monetary policy, because of the global liquidity, etc., etc. Now, let me quickly debunk this, because I still do think that altcoins can see a significant increase, even though, yes, monetary policy is a little bit different. Even though, yes, global liquidity isn't rising as significantly over here anymore, just like we did during 2020 and during the 2021 bull market. And yes, even though the global liquidity has not been rising as sharply during this cycle, and even though the Fed balance sheet hasn't seen this insane surge to the upside, and even though the interest rates are at much higher levels than they were at the previous altcoin season. Well, even though all of this is happening, I still do think that altcoin season, or somewhat at the very least, somewhat of an altcoin season, will be happening this cycle, at the very least, towards the 50% Bitcoin dominance. And we are still going to be ending off this cycle with at least some kind of an altcoin season. Now, I still do think that the liquidity will be there already in the market. I still do think that there is already kind of enough liquidity in the market. And I still do think that more liquidity will be added in the market, and we are still going to be seeing a rise in global liquidity over here. Now, by the way, keep in mind, this is the global liquidity without the M2 money supply added. So yeah, this is best practice to have a look into this indicator when having a look into altcoins. You see a clear correlation over here with a bear market, also global liquidity being steadily down, and also in a bull market, global liquidity, of course, rising. So yeah, this is the best practice and best indicator you can be having a look into. And this is the inverted Bitcoin dominance chart. Now, whenever we overlay these two indicators, it is, of course, clear that there is a clear correlation over here. And people say because of this that this cycle we're not going to be seeing an altcoin season and altcoins cannot rally because of this. However, I do beg to differ, because I do think if we are going to be seeing a little bit of a further increase in the global liquidity over here, well, then we are in a very similar situation like we were actually in 2017, where also during this stage, especially of this cycle, well, the most amount of gains were made with the altcoins, and especially during this stage, okay, we could be seeing a very sharp increase in the Bitcoin dominance over here. And yeah, in order for this move to the upside, we saw this amount of money printing. And right now, I definitely do think we could be seeing something very similar for the global liquidity. And we could be moving up over here even further. And in that case, we could see a similar rally, just like we have seen over here, right? So some people think we need some crazy amount of money printing going on in order for us to see an altcoin season, but this is not entirely true. We can already get a significant altcoin season already with this amount of money printing in the market. That's definitely already kind of enough. Now, a lot of people are also talking about the Fed balance sheet, that the Fed balance sheet needs to see some kind of a quantitative easing in order to see an altcoin season. And yes, during the last cycle, this definitely was very true. We first saw a lot of quantitative easing, and then we saw the Bitcoin dominance decreasing like crazy. Okay, we're definitely seeing a correlation over here. Also, during the after the 2017 bull market, during this bear market, we could have also seen quantitative tightening and the Bitcoin dominance increasing. During this cycle as well, we have seen quantitative tightening and the Bitcoin dominance increasing. Now, before that, during the 2017 altcoin season over here, we could be seeing the Fed balance sheet basically not being in a stage of quantitative tightening, but also not in a stage of quantitative easing. And that's exactly going to be the point where we're going to be moving in towards, or the Fed is going to be moving in towards. They're going to be stopping their quantitative tightening program. Right now, they've already eased by a lot. They are only sending about $5 billion US, so they've eased by a lot. And this line will pretty much be only stagnant from this point over here. So it's going to be at a very similar point like we were at 2017, where we could also see a significant rally and significant altcoin season. So this cycle, we could be seeing the same exact thing. We do not necessarily need quantitative easing. It definitely helps, but like you can be seeing in 2017, we do not necessarily need it. We can already see an altcoin season without quantitative easing, just with the stop of quantitative tightening, which is going to be coming up. Now, on top of that, another very important factor we need to keep in account are going to be the interest rates. And whenever we're going to be overlaying the US interest rates on the Bitcoin dominance chart again, we can be seeing a very clear correlation. Now, first of all, I do want to talk about the fact that in 2017, again, altcoins have increased significantly, even though during this stage, interest rates have been increasing. Now, of course, you can argue, and it's a very good argument, that the US interest rates, of course, have a little bit of a delayed effect on the altcoins, on the Bitcoin dominance. And this is definitely very true, because you can be seeing an increase in interest rates over here, and with a delay, we can be seeing an increase in the Bitcoin dominance. Right here, you can be seeing a decrease in the US interest rates, and after some time, we have seen this decreasement in the Bitcoin dominance. Right here, this increase in interest rates and the increase in the Bitcoin dominance. But if this is going to be true, once again, well, the trend will be to the downside for the US interest rates. They've already pivoted to the downside. They will continue to go to the downside. So with enough of a delay, we are still going to be seeing this decreasement in the Bitcoin dominance, and we are still going to be seeing this altcoin season. So everything is basically pointing into the same fact. We are going to be seeing more money printing over here, and that could already bring a significant altcoin season. We do not necessarily need quantitative easing over here, and the US interest rates definitely do have a very strong correlation with the Bitcoin dominance, and are going to be suggesting some kind of an altcoin season over here. Now, even on top of all of that, we are seeing some strong signals that behind the scenes, there's some stealth QE going on. So still behind the doors, well, the Fed is coming in and injecting more liquidity in the market. So yeah, talking about the global liquidity, which for a lot of people is a major concern at this moment. I understand it, but for me, for my personal opinion, for my analysis, I do not think it will be the major concern. I think the global liquidity is going to be looking pretty good with this pivot coming up and more money printing going to be coming up. Well, global liquidity is about to rise even further, and I think that could definitely be a major catalyst for the altcoin season that we're about to get. We can be seeing this money rotation. Of course, every single cycle, we always end with an altcoin season. And if we're going to be having a look into the DXY, and if we're going to be overlaying the Bitcoin dominance on top of the DXY, we can actually see that every single cycle, we always see a deviation to the bottom side on the DXY chart. And this is always a stage where risk on assets tend to pop and tend to increase massively. Right now, we are entering that deviation. Right now, we are entering that risk on stage bubble, right? And you can see that over here, we entered this risk on stage and the Bitcoin dominance decreased massively. That also marked almost the exact top for Bitcoin and the end of the cycle, right? But right here, that indicated altcoin season. Right here, once again, this has indicated altcoin season. The DXY seeing this deviation to the bottom side, risk on asset stage. Okay, right now we are also seeing this risk on asset stage. We are approaching this deviation, right? So I do think that the DXY is soon about to follow with another altcoin season. Once again, at the very least, to about a 50% mark, but I even do think we can be headed even lower. We'll be talking about my exact prediction a little bit later. Now, on top of that, if we're going to be having a look into this chart, the Bitcoin dominance plus the Ethereum dominance plus the USD Tether dominance, well, we can actually draw a very clear trend line over here. And every single cycle, as we are approaching, once again, the end of the cycle, and we are getting rejected by this level of resistance, it has always marked the start of the altcoin season. Right now, we are touching this level once again, and we are approaching the end of this bull market. So I think we are about to get rejected again, and the altcoin season is about to get started from off this level. Now, if you are going to be having a look into the USD Tether dominance alone, well, this is also looking very bullish because I think more money is about to flow from stablecoins into altcoins and into Bitcoin. Now, this is not going to be a major driver. We, of course, also need money outside of the crypto market already to go into altcoins in order for us to reach these high price targets, of course. But this is definitely going to be a small catalyst we can be having a look into. I think for this bull market, we're going to be seeing a deviation at the bottom side below this level of support, and that is going to be marking the end of the bull market. So definitely some lower is about to go for the USD Tether dominance chart. Also looking very good. Now, we'll be debunking this thesis over here because a lot of people are talking about the fact that this cycle, we're seeing a Bitcoin cycle. This cycle, institutions are only buying Bitcoin. They have no interest in mind in altcoins. They're not going to be buying altcoins. They're not going to be buying Ethereum, etc., etc. But this is, once again, another myth, in my opinion, because institutions will be buying Ethereum just a little bit later, in the later stage of the cycle, whenever the cycle is going to be peaking out, whenever peak FOMO, peak euphoria is going to be coming up. And I even think that the Ethereum ETF is going to be a greater incentive than the Bitcoin ETF, because Ethereum, the Ethereum ETF will introduce an Ethereum staking ETF, which will bring in billions of inflows. It's going to be so attractive for institutions and also for retail traders to buy the Ethereum ETF and get even these staking rewards, get these yields in. I mean, it's going to be very attractive. So, and also on top of that, it's going to be very easy for institutions to convert their Bitcoin ETF into an Ethereum ETF. So it's going to be simpler than ever for institutions to buy Ethereum right now. So it will be even easier for this money rotation to actually happen from Bitcoin into Ethereum. And that will just lead into a massive altcoin season. So definitely very bullish on that. I think Ethereum in general is very undervalued at this moment. We are sitting at a massive level of support at this moment on a monthly time frame. I've been accumulating a lot of Ethereum at the bottom. I still do think that Ethereum has much and much higher to go from of these current levels. And altcoin season is about to be getting initiated. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is that the current sentiment is sitting at the lowest level ever before. It's actually quite insane because the Bitcoin funding rates, the Ethereum funding rates are completely flat. Nobody is interested, or no retail trader is interested in longing Ethereum at all. There's no hype at all. And even if we're going to be having a look into other altcoins, which have performed much better for a general altcoin season, of course. Well, for example, Solana as well. It has been seeing no interest to be getting longed at all during this rally we have been seeing. Even if we're going to be having a look into Sui, one of the best performers during this rally, during this bounce, one of the best altcoin performers. Well, still for Sui, the funding rates are sitting extremely low, completely flat. Nobody is interested in longing altcoins at all. This is completely different than we were seeing at these levels over here. So right now, this is definitely suggesting me that we want to be buying, and altcoin season is still about to start. Now, maybe not right now. Maybe it still needs some time. Retail still needs to be flowing in, and we still need to get to these euphoria stages. I think that the real alt season is about to get started at the later stage of this cycle, in the end of the cycle, and we are going to be ending off the cycle with peak euphoria. The liquidity is still going to be there. And if we're going to be having a look into my prediction, I think something like this yellow line is going to be the most likely, where we're still going to be seeing a little bit more of pain. The Bitcoin dominance could still increase, maybe even to these previous highs over here. That would still be a lot of pain. But then eventually, still before the cycle tops, we're going to be seeing a massive altcoin season. We're still going to be seeing altcoins increasing massively. Peak FOMO, peak euphoria. I think then we're going to be ending off the cycle. And still, this altcoin season is going to be inevitable. Now, there's going to be two other scenarios. We could also just see the altcoin season already right now. And that would definitely be good days. That is going to be the reason why I'm already accumulating a lot of altcoins right now, because we could just be reversing right now at this moment already. And there's also going to be that challenge that it's just going to be a Bitcoin takeover. Altcoins are completely cooked, they're completely finished, and they're never going to be recovering. Now, I do think that this is going to be highly unlikely. However, there's going to be a lot of people that surprisingly do think that this is going to happen. I do not think that this will happen. I still think this cycle will be topping out with peak euphoria, like I've explained already many times. Anyways, this yellow scenario is going to be my base case. I still do think that more pain could be inevitable. I think the cycle will be topping out in Q4 of this year, and we're going to be seeing a real alt season of about 2 to 3 months. So given that, we can still see some more pain for 1 to 2 months, and after these 1 to 2 months, then we're going to be seeing a big alt season of 2 to 3 months, and then after these 2 to 3 months, we're going to be topping out for the cycle. We're going to be calling the cycle tops. Now, let me know if I should make a video about my exit strategy, when and what I have a look into for the cycle tops to be getting in. And also let me know in the comments down below if you want me to make a video about the exact altcoins which I will be buying right now in order to make the most amount of gains, because it's going to be very important to select the right few altcoins to accumulate during this stage. Yes, most altcoins will be increasing during the altcoin season, but most of them will increase a lot more, and some of the altcoins you will buy will not move at all because they are just shit coins. We might still just get a selective altcoin season only, and that is going to be in the case if we're just going to be seeing a decreasement towards a 50% Bitcoin dominance. In that case, I think we're only going to be seeing a selective altcoin season, and it's going to be very important that you buy the right altcoins. Okay, but I'm still in the camp of the people that do believe we're going to be ending off the cycle with an altcoin season. A lot of people have given up on this idea. A lot of people are flipping very bearish on altcoins, but that is actually making me very bullish at this current moment. Let me know what you think about the global liquidity over here. Let me know in the comments down below. And anyways, with that being said, I'll see you in another video later.